we should get director's chairs. I think those would be so cute.
Like the kind of, they're not, like the wooden chair with the black seat on their arms.
With like the back. I think that'd be really cute.
That'd be kind of neat, but then we have to hide the fact, and this is going in the pod, that there's a random piece of wood.
Well, it's not random because you can lift. We're supposed to be able to lift this, remember, because this was a multi-purpose room.
I mean, it has served multiple purposes.
Correct. So, like, if we were standing doing shots, we can take the C and put it on said ledge. And then for seated shots.
I agree with you. I do. I'm just going to say, how many times have we moved the logo?
Okay. I also think it's because those lights are not working. Off-season is coming.
Yeah.
The off-season is coming.
That's true. And on that note, this is 2 for Chirping. And we got Rachel Wallbrown, our social media coordinator. This is a little different. Hi, Rachel. What's going on?
Was I supposed to look at that camera or you? Like,
You can do whatever you want.
What's the vibe here?
You can do whatever you want. I'd actually rather you not look at me or any camera. That way you act like you've never done this before, you know? I just
stare at the ground like right now.
Yeah, I want you to act like you've never done this before. I do my best to
I've never done
look
a
around.
podcast. This is my first ever pod.
I assume that is actual, like it is a lie, right? Like you've done a podcast of some kind.
No.
No?
No. I've touched every other piece of whatever.
Yeah.
But the pod is new to me.
This is kind of a pretty big moment then for you.
Yeah, I think I'd be really good at a podcast though. So this is like my shining moment.
Or is this like what in the? This is my shining moment. Off-camera sneeze by your intern.
My intern.
And Courtney makes her debut on the pod again.
She's not getting hired.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing about the other guy that didn't get me Starbucks. Oh, sorry, Eli. You're there again.
The Soch squad.
Eli's trying to hold his nose right now because he's got to sneeze so bad that he's laughing.
I understand that the Soch squad is the place to be, but like, sorry, we're an exclusive club.
The Soch squad?
Yeah.
I disagree entirely. And by the way, this is I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it was a long night. We just got back in from Fort Wayne. But what I do want to say
what was that? Literally sitting on my couch last night trying to cover this game. 12 seconds left. And we're just like, what is that?
I know.
At that point, just call it. No one's scoring 3 goals in 12 seconds. You know, at that point, just be like, everyone off the ice. And be like, thank you so much.
I was talking to one of the guys on the bus about this because as a guy who played hockey growing up as a kid and then loved it, like I absolutely love watching the game, that is something I think I've always hated. I've always hated it.
The end of the game?
Yeah, because like I was talking to someone on the bus, I can't repeat the exact words, so I'll just replace with ego measuring contest. Because that's just what happens. Like at the end of the game, you know you're going to lose. It'd be the same thing if it was the other foot. Like if the Cyclones are up, Comets do the same thing.
I mean, it happened at the game last Saturday.
Yeah, and it's just like for whatever reason, now we got to act tough or we got to try and, establish territory when it's like the biggest stat has already been determined.
Right.
And instead of getting on the bus and being able to go home a little earlier, let's take 20 minutes in the final 12 seconds.
Speaking of stats, I'm really glad that we didn't have to do like one of those, Beckworm's like best saves with a loss. Like how would I put that in a tweet?
No. That was the headline. It was Beckworm makes 45 saves.
Which is absolutely phenomenal.
He was really good.
But it's one of those things where it's like, how do I put that in the tweet? I guess it's like a positive spin.
It is. I was glad. I was like, you know what? I don't even remember getting sent highlights last night. I didn't even check.
I clipped maybe 5 things.
Well, that's good. I wasn't
and 3 of them were comment goals.
Yeah, at least you and I are pretty good now that I can like kind of go to you. Or in last night's case, I don't even need to. We just both know.
I assumed
like
nothing was going out.
Yeah, so that helps. And by the way, so we should kind of attempt to rope this in somewhat. So Rachel is our social media coordinator, and that's kind of what we're talking about. Yeah. So you have what I would consider. Well, actually, hold on, one more thing. Rachel will also be kind of helping out as a host. I guess in this episode a co-host, but you'll be tasked with handling some of these podcasts. I think it's going to be really cool for our fans because some of the ones you're going to specialize in will be people behind the scenes that I think often kind of go nameless to the public. And obviously Matt Shear's coming up.
Yeah. That
should be a really good one. You guys have worked together here for a couple of years longer than I have. And, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a lot of really good stories that, again, don't get talked about on air because it may not feel relevant to the on-ice product. But I think what people don't understand, and I'll let you chime in on this part, is that, whenever the season ends, whether it's a championship or a playoff exit or teams that don't make the playoffs, the season ends for the players, and it's almost like in some ways it kind of just begins for us in the upstairs office to kind of build for next year.
Yeah. So I said I was new to the pod. This is my first ever pod, right? But I'm not new to like this type of content in terms of like, so I have a journalism background. I was going to school to be a reporter. Didn't want to do all that stuff. But like this feels weird to me because it's kind of like when a mascot takes off their head, right? Like I'm the behind the scenes. I'm the admin, as people are calling it these days, right?
This is social media guy.
Social media guy. That's literally my Twitter bio because the amount of people that think I'm a dude is insane, which is crazy, which means I'm assuming that every team, you probably thought for the longest time that the person who runs the Flyers social is a guy.
You know what?
And you know what? And you probably think that, or a lot of people probably think that about a lot of teams, is that a guy is running the social accounts. And I guarantee you half of them are females.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say too before, and then I was kind of like, no, I have to reintroduce you, whatever, is that in my eyes, you have, and look, as you know this, like I think anybody that's in this industry has done a little bit of everything. So, you know, a previous spot, I was you among many other hats, but you have, I think the bigger the markets get, the bigger the league gets, it almost becomes at times an unenviable task. Of doing social media, because there are moments where you have to find a way to, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you're trying to find a way to be creative 24/7 on different platforms that have different reactions to different things, because there's different audiences on all of them.
The fact that I survived the pandemic, I feel like that's like my biggest resume boost right there, is that I ran accounts during a pandemic.
Yeah.
And we grew in that time. And I was literally creatively burnt out during that time because there was nothing going on. But the team makes it easy for me this year because they're so good.
Yeah, that helps.
You know, we're breaking records. We're doing the whole thing. The team is fun. The locker room's a fun place to be. They, I'm sure, roll their eyes before I come in, but they're troopers when I'm asking stupid questions, or I have my interns down there asking stupid questions.
Yeah.
So they make it super easy for me. But yeah, I mean, at this level, you're doing all of it, right? You're wearing the multiple hats. But I just saw a job posting the other day for someone posted it. They're like, 2 years ago, this would have never been a job. And it's crazy how much this environment has changed, as there was a job posting for obviously a 3-letter league team, strictly for vertical video.
Wow.
That was a job.
That's unbelievable.
To get vertical video. Meanwhile, I'm like, my interns this past week, and I'm like, hey, we want to do a full video, but then we also want to make sure we have reels and stuff. So I'm like, spend one period getting vertical shots, spend the other period getting horizontal shots. Like, that's how you have to roll.
Yeah.
And, you know, trying to get it across multiple platforms.
As a creative, is it like exciting to see jobs like that open? Like, it feels like the industry's growing, right?
It does, but then it's kind of like, I think I'm so used to doing so many things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, what do you do
all
day?
Yeah.
You know, but it's crazy because my job running, say, the 4 channels for the Cyclones, and granted, I also have the Heritage side. It's pretty easy on that side. You get a lot of the copy yourself. Our people send things over, but each, like the Bengals, they, I'm sure, have an Instagram team.
Yeah, I would assume.
Or, you know,
right?
They have freelancers, they have agencies they work with. I'm sure the Reds have, you know, they have multiple people working for platforms instead of.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How often, like, and so there's times where I look at our stuff, and I think like the other night I was looking at, just for whatever reason, I scrolled up to, we played Indy on Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
And all the captions, and like, I don't think people realize this until you actually try to sit there and think about this. All the captions have something to do with Easter, right? But they're clever.
Shout out Eli.
They're nice, Eli. Good for you, man. But I also know, like, I'm sure you've obviously been tasked with this. So Eli was the one that was creating all of this?
So, yeah. So at the beginning of the season, interns come in and they learn how our team socials are run, right? It's basically the playbook of, hey, if you've ever noticed, I don't use punctuation at the end of any of our tweets. Ever.
Okay.
And that's just how it is, right? I use punctuation to separate sentences, but it just, if it's one thing, it does not have a punctuation.
Right.
And something as small as that makes a difference. So, and like when you came in, I had to tell you how things were ran on socials. Like I told you the same thing. And it's so when someone else is running it, when you were posting the away games or when you post something, it's so no one knows that it's multiple people.
Yeah, that there's a change.
Correct. But yeah, it's keeping a theme, but it makes your job easier, right? Because you're keeping it up like on the fly for highlights, anything going out. So it's easier if you just have a theme to the night. Sometimes we think about it ahead of time. Sometimes we randomly, like whatever we post first, they're like, okay, this works. Okay. So we're just going to roll with it.
Well, the reason I ask about this is because, again, I think, and I'll full transparency, and like we don't have to get into the whole shebang-a-bang, but like I think you and I would even talk about this. Like you mentioned me coming in last year, and it was an adjustment because I'm like, okay, on top of like you just referenced how there's a team now with a vertical video person, specifically that, and the challenges of going from, like say that would be you one day, you'd go from having the keys to the kingdom to being just a piece of a puzzle.
Correct.
And that's, I kind of felt like that when I first came here, where it was like, oh, I'm so used to having my hands on everything. And now my hands are off it. And at first I was like, oh, this is great. Like, I don't have to do it. Because that's all, like, I think we all grew up, or at least I did, in a belief that it's like the more you move up, the less you do, or the less hats you wear at least. Like
you specialize.
Yes. You're allowed to kind of eventually, hopefully, get to a point where the job almost caters to you and what you wanted to do in the first place. I mean, case in point is Everett Fitzhugh, our previous broadcaster.
Yeah.
That guy went to school with the ambition of doing play-by-play broadcasting. And this is the first job now in Seattle where that's all he's responsible for, pretty much, right? Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of other nuances, but nothing compared to here.
And imagine like being able to really hone in on that craft.
Yeah, like I would imagine it's so great. And I was excited here when I got here, and then I was like, oh my gosh, this is so challenging. But as I've grown to learn, and I think I'd like to think, I've either or more so we have come a long way in the understanding of that from season 1 to 2, because it was a teaching moments for me. But then you realize like, okay, a clever tweet that you'll do. And it's like, oh, that's pretty good. Like, would I have been able to do that? And then it's like, not only would I'm not sure if I'd be able to do it. A, do it on the fly. B, not know what the game is. Let's not forget, this isn't pro wrestling. It's not scripted. This game could be 1-0 or 9-8. And if you have a theme and it's a 9-8 game, you're tweeting like 20, 25 times, and it still has to be in that theme. So that's where I kind of wonder, like, are you coming up with, I don't know if I'm going too inside baseball to steal your secrets, but when you have a theme, if you land on the theme that day or in advance, are you coming up with puns in advance? Are you creating lines in advance? You're going on the fly?
You can't teach wit, Andrew. Can't teach wit.
Okay. All right.
I think I've always been that way though. Like I'm really like snappy with my comebacks.
Okay.
Just like with anyone in general. So being on the fly on social is pretty like
natural for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty, go with the flow. So there are certain things, right? You asked me Hippos Night.
Yeah.
Like so if we lose, like what are you saying? And on those certain things you have certain like ideas in mind because you kind of have to, because obviously everyone wants to tweet the Hippos are undefeated, and that's what I got to post for the Conies, so sucks for the Hippos. Sorry to hear that. They will never win a game. Nope. Fiona and Fritz are cute, so we'll go with that.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, like, or Cancer Night. So that one was a back and forth game. Like we weren't sure where that was going to go.
Yeah.
But that win for Wendy was always kind of in the back of my mind. Whether it was like fully what I was going to say, I don't know. But sometimes you're just really on the fly. But those are the best tweets, I think.
What, just being on the fly, spontaneous?
Yeah, and I mean, some of the Bengals' best Super Bowl tweets, like making it into Super Bowl, were no graphic, no photo, simple text, and you feel like as the fan reading it, that it is a fan tweeting it.
Okay, so this is a good question to follow up with that. So, again, something that I don't think fans necessarily, I don't want to say not understand, but maybe you don't even necessarily think about this as a fan, and that is the voice of a social media platform. And we talk about continuity with it, making sure that it doesn't ever feel like it's a different person. What is, if you were selling it, what is, in your eyes, the voice of Cincinnati Cyclone Social?
Oh, is like sassy a good word?
It can be.
I feel like that's kind of the route that we've really taken, but on some, right? I get a little feisty on Facebook sometimes, but Facebook has tended to be like more straightforward, a little bit more stat-ish heavy, or that's where our core, like, since our season ticket holders like lied. So I can be a little bit more in depth with things. But when it comes to Twitter, like, it's really just stupid stuff. And then like sassy, I guess, is the way to go. Funny, quirky. The whole goal of our Instagram and Twitter is to really make people regret not coming to the game.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right?
So it's just fun at that point. And it's such a fleeting platform where you're just scrolling almost like just mindlessly. So you need something to catch your eye. So the stupid stuff works.
Here's another one that I always
I guess that's not a good word, like stupid, because there is because I think people have a misconception that's running social media is easy. Like, if you have an Instagram page, anyone thinks that they can run a brand's Instagram page, and that's account. That sounds weird, I guess. Wow.
No.
My millennial is showing. It's not an easy thing. Like, having that voice and keeping it consistent isn't, I guess, the easiest thing.
Yeah, and I think there's people that, like you say, millennial, there are people out there that will be like, oh my gosh, it's such an easy job. And I think what you don't understand is, for all of us, we kind of essentially work in show business. There's a level of pride you take, and there's a level of, I think, pressure. Like, for example, I'm sure you see every post that you guys have put out, and regardless of platform, likes, shares, retweets, engagements, views. And I imagine there's some pressure there, and maybe there's a little bit of like I know I can get off the air one night and it could be like, man, I did not have a good call. Like, and it's like, why? And maybe you have a post that you're like, I thought that was going to really perform well, and it didn't, right? And there's a level of pressure and accountability there, right? I mean, you're putting a lot of weight on yourself to have all those things be executed perfectly.
I'm incredibly protective over our channels. I think you talk about like the transition, like when you came in, that was part of it, right? Was I'm so protective over my channels because I built them to what they are.
Yeah.
And so anyone coming in that could have keys that could potentially and one tweet, one post is never going to like ruin any progress you've made. But to me, I'm like, I should have said this. Why didn't he say it like this instead? Use an exclamation point. He put a period. Like, none of that really matters to anybody else out there, I guess, except for me. So it is pressure. You're supposed to get better every year. So if things that I think are going to work don't, then you have to pivot your strategy. And I think that's the part where people don't understand. It's not, I said I'm really witty and that works during a game. We don't play a game every day.
Nope.
So there is strategy behind everything that we post in between a game. There's strategy behind the things we share on game day and what we don't share on game day, what we share post game day. Like, there's always something in the back of my head.
Yeah.
There's analytics behind everything.
Well, I think another thing, and analytics is another thing I wanted to ask you about because, okay, full transparency, right behind our office here, well, not exactly right behind office, media room, podcast room, miscellaneous room is like our sales world.
Yep.
Okay. So, and I always say this, and I try to give them credit when I have it on my mind on air, like the amount of work they put in to getting butts in our seats is unbelievable. And they do a damn good job. And this year, I mean, some of the crowds we've had has been awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
I always wondered though, and I think about this, whether it be like my job is to get all this media attention for our team, which I think we've done a lot of. Your job is to get the attention on social media. Like you said, kind of have that basically FOMO effect on social media. And I think the problem for us, correct me if I'm wrong, is we don't have that tangible ROI to know that like, hey, your post translated to this many seats. And I'm not trying to take anything away from our sales staff. Like I said, they do unbelievable, but I do sometimes wonder like, hey, is it possible that somebody woke up in the morning and saw us on the morning news and thought, man, I got to get tickets? Is it possible
I think that, like, I thought that after Friday's game, right?
Yeah.
If you weren't here, I mean, it was, I think, probably one of my favorite games I've ever worked.
It was unbelievable.
It was absolutely unbelievable. The crowd was electric. They were electric from the start, even when we were down 3-0.
3,900 never sounded so loud.
Correct. And it was amazing. And, but I think really sharing that and getting those things, but that also means the boys on the ice are putting out things for me to share.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So, but sharing those fights and having that rapport with, our followers, essentially, who are then going, my biggest thing is, how can I make this piece of content shareable?
Right.
How can I make this photo, this video on Instagram so they click that little like airplane looking thing to post on their story,
Yep.
so their friends who don't follow us are like, what is this? Follow us.
Right.
Right? So, and I'm hoping that someone saw something on Friday and said, that's incredible. I want to go Saturday.
Yeah. But it is like, and for me, I think there's almost a level at times of frustration because I'd love to know that number, right?
Yeah.
Like I think for you even, right? I mean, that would be a great feeling if you knew for a fact that like you're responsible for some people coming out to Saturday's game.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice, but
Yeah.
it's something I think I'll never, you can look at the data and see who clicked on a link. And I guess when you have it, like, you can follow and see and track and when they click the link, did they end up buying? Or did they click the link, see something and back out? Like, you can see some of those numbers.
Yeah.
But is it strictly what I posted that got them there? Has it been months of them lurking on our channels? Like, yeah, I don't know.
How do you handle the fluidity of socials? Because I feel like, and again, just being honest, like coming here, especially with you having that as your chair, you know, the social media chair, I think at times I've actually drifted away from social media a little bit, which is...
Andrew, you don't have like any social media.
Well, I'm a Twitter guy. I'm a Twitter antagonist too, depending on who replies to me.
I loved it.
Did you see this weekend's?
I only saw the score sheet one from the past.
Yeah.
Those were, yeah.
Unbelievable. I know. I do sometimes sit there. Braden's trying to show me. Is it 2 p.m.? What can I do about it? We're going late, buddy.
This is a solid episode.
I think so. I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate you. That's why we have such a full room today.
Yeah,
we
got everyone in here.
Yeah, we have Eli, Courtney, Braden, part of the we have Soch team and
So
Braden.
squad.
Soch squad and Braden.
Alliteration, Andrew. Come on. This is why you're not a part of the team.
That's messed up. That's wrong. This is why you don't get coffees in the morning. White hot chocolates, I mean. But you ruined a great question. Gosh, Braden was trying to show me it was 2. I was going to ask you about the fluidity of social media. Okay. Seriously, because I'm not as on hands with it, but I feel like I hear things where it's like, okay, for Instagram, for example, like Reels, it feels like there'll be kind of a hot time in the year where for whatever reason, Reels are getting more attention than anything else. Then there's like... You
asked this question, which means that you didn't hear me breaking down in the middle of the season when our Instagram, I felt, was failing.
Oh, really? I did not hear this breakdown. But then I heard...
like weeks long.
Well, and I thought I heard something about like then carousels became like the big thing. And then like, obviously...
The algorithms change constantly, which means you have to change constantly.
But that's kind of what I want to know. Like, how do you deal with that balance? Because I imagine it's not exclusive. Okay. I cry and complain until it fixes itself. I just stay in my ways. But like, it's got to be. I mean, that you have a job that never stops changing.
Correct.
Right? I mean,
which is part of the fun, but also a lot of the stress.
Yeah.
And I think the other part of the job, that never stops, is social media. I mean, when you get home at night, and you just said you're not a social media person, but I feel like the average 27-year-old, they get home after a long day, they sit down for dinner, after then they'll scroll on TikTok. They scroll on Instagram.
Yeah.
I've been scrolling all day long. And unfortunately, I still go home and I'm on my phone scrolling. One, because I want to catch up with the people I actually know and not Cyclones fans or the surrounding greater Cincinnati area.
Yeah.
Love you all, but sometimes I need a break. And
understand.
It's also keeping up with trends that are not on that side of things. So, like for TikTok, for instance, that algorithm is so specific on your like FYP.
Yeah.
So the videos I see on the Cyclones account are way different than the ones I see on mine. But the ones on mine would probably cater best to our audience on TikTok. So okay. I go back and forth.
What are your thoughts on the tracking of these apps now? It's like if you're sitting there, like you and I guarantee this will happen. Like I'm going to leave this room and at some point get on Facebook or Twitter because those are my apps. I guess I'm in old man mode now, but like...
Boomer.
Yeah, boomer. I'm like 2 years older than you. I guess I lost the millennial status. But like, I'll get on Facebook today and there will be like an ad probably about how to increase views on my platform or something.
Yeah.
Like they'll find a way. What's kind of your take on that?
You know what's funny? I saw this video the other day of someone who's like, let them track me, feed me ads that are relevant. I mean, at that point.
There's an argument to be made on both sides, right?
Right.
But like what?
If you want the app to be free, that's what's going to happen.
So you subscribe to this?
Minimally, right? Like,
okay.
Everyone's listening always, right? They want to tell you they're not listening. They are. What the whole like my AI on Snapchat. They're like, we don't know your location, blah, blah, blah. And they worked around it. They go, what's the closest Starbucks to me? And they found it. They're like, oh, so you do know my location. I don't
AI DJ on Spotify.
Like,
I've been
I don't
using
know. I mean, it's a weird thing, but if you want the apps to be free, they're selling your data.
Yeah.
That's how it's free.
Does that mean that you could foresee some of these apps or other apps changing? I'm talking social media apps, social media platforms. Like you think about it. I mean, when you and I were younger, like MySpace was still a thing when we were like kids.
Loved it.
You know, I did too. I remember you land on somebody's page and whatever song they wanted to play, just started playing, you know? It was like the most personal.
We were messing around with like a 6-figure salary in like the 6th and 7th grade.
Yeah?
Like writing code and stuff.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. People go to college for that.
Yeah.
And we were just, let's make it pink.
Yeah. let's bejazzle this Facebook or this MySpace page. But you know, like it sometimes I think about that, like that came and went, and I know it still exists as like a music platform of some kind, but I mean, is there going to be a day where, I think the answer is yes, that one of the current ones we're using is going to come and go? Is there going to be a day where
Twitter is probably on its way out with the way things are shaking?
I don't know. Everybody says that because of the whole Elon Musk thing, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I still feel like there's so much activity in it that I feel like you felt when MySpace was dying. I personally don't feel like Twitter's dying yet. Like,
no, I still think it's, I don't know.
I mean, some people are going to leave it because they lost their blue check marks, but
still have ours.
Yeah, that's right. Keep rolling.
That's all that matters.
Do you think there will be a social media platform one day where teams like the Cyclones or anybody would be running them, and if you were a follower or I guess a follower is the right way to say it, like you would have to be paying to utilize that app?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess now teams are technically doing it. Some of them, if they lost their check mark, if they want to keep it, they have to pay for it.
Twitter Blue?
Twitter Blue. Ours, luckily, is still available. So go us.
We're good there.
Yeah, we're solid. And I don't know. I guess it would all depend on what the type of platform.
Yeah.
But in my mind, social media isn't a paid thing. Social media is they're all private companies. Right. So any sense of freedom of speech, which people don't know how technically that's covered anyway. We're not even getting into that side of things.
Yeah, no
they're
point
private
on that.
companies hosting these apps or in these platforms. So they want them to be free because they want everyone using them.
Something happened.
It hit the time. I had to interrupt last time by spiking my headset. So
that is true. Last time Braden like did a touchdown spike of his headset on the ground over here when Brandon Yeamans was yeah. We're re-recording now. Sorry, we didn't lose anything here though. We're good. I hate to bring up things off camera, but at the same time, I love to.
I enjoy it.
It keeps it's real.
It's real.
Right? Like, let's not act.
Sometimes being super polished is not the way to be.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes, like, if I make a mistake, I'll just, like, own up to it on Twitter. Like,
yeah.
The first face-off last year, I posted the wrong opponent.
Did you? I can't remember.
I had the right opponent posted or in the graphic because I prepped it ahead of time.
Yeah.
I second-guessed myself and said, no, I didn't do this yet.
Yeah.
Changed it, and then everyone was like, oh, we're not there. Like, I think it was, we were playing Indy, and it was the Wings. And Kalamazoo was like, hey, love it, but we're not there.
Yeah. Like, we had played Kalamazoo the night before, to be fair, and then we came home to play our home opener.
Yeah.
So
just, like, wasn't prepped.
Yeah, I mean, those things happen, and we all make mistakes.
Like,
now,
I was also super excited for that win, so I misspelled,
Yeah.
Kind of
well, you know what's funny is that, like, we all do make mistakes. You and I think a lot of people that do what we do are in a position, though, where our mistakes are out there. And I think that's a little more difficult than somebody who can make a mistake at work and, like, I mean, I don't know why this randomly came to mind, but it's true. Like at McDonald's, if you're in the drive-thru and you order a Big Mac and the guy making your Big Mac put something wrong on it, he can throw it away before you even get it and make the new one correctly. And nobody knows, but if you put out a wrong graphic or if I say the wrong name, case in point was Drake Rimshaw for the Comets in game 2. There was that massive hit. You clipped it, put it on social media.
Phenomenal.
I said that Rimshaw got hit. I didn't know who hit him, to be honest.
Yeah.
And like that was one of those things. And I think I did a good job at first of waiting and not naming the hitter. But then I was like, that may have been Sean Allen. Turns out it was Zach Berzola.
Yeah.
And it's like those moments have been recorded and are on Flow Hockey for somebody to go back and see. And in your case, it's like you may have the power to delete things, but sometimes it's like, well, I know people saw it. And then you have people that screenshot it.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, we got you.
But you know what? It's been such a change, and like this podcast probably never would have happened a few years ago with a social media person because it was such a strict, no one should know who social media is.
Yeah,
Right?
that's true.
And I think now it's become more of a thing. Social media people are even vlogging, TikTok reels, the whole 9 of day in the life of Charger social media, Bengal social media, Red social media, Guardian social media. And the people behind the accounts, which I think is super cool. And I think it really humanizes everyone.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, social media is supposed to be a fun place. I think people forget that. Social media is supposed to be a fun environment.
Yeah.
Like I said, I try to keep it that way. But I think people need to remember that there is a real human behind everything, that gets said. The amount of comments that I receive or messages from, on Facebook from both Cyclones and Heritage Bank Center, or on the Instagram pages or the Twitter, I'm like, there is a human behind this account.
Yeah.
Well,
and so this past weekend, I will try not to give it much more attention, but it was an example of and I want to ask kind of how you handle these things because we all also, as humans, have things other than our jobs in our lives. Mm-hmm. And there are times where those things, I don't want to say get in the way, but they're top of mind. I mean, again, I don't want to, I can't imagine you want everybody to know your full life story and everything, but example last year, if you don't mind me saying this, you are now happily married.
Yes.
And so congratulations, coming up on a year anniversary for that.
Heading to Italy.
Which will be very exciting for you.
Yeah, this goes back to me handing over socials, though. My interns are taking the reins on that one.
But this is so my question to you would be I cannot imagine how stressful last year was for you leading up to that big day because we're all told we're only supposed to have one despite the divorce rate in the US. But anyway,
It's gonna work, honey.
I didn't need to go there, but anyway, there's so much stress that you as Rachel, the person, are dealing with. Mm-hmm. Is it hard when hey, maybe one day things didn't go well and to top it all off, here's an ignorant ass comment on social media on the Cyclones or the Heritage Bank page. I would imagine it's at least sometimes hard to not take it personal.
There are some days where I have to just shut the comments off. Most days I'm good. I think this is how a lot of influencers feel too. They're I'm usually fine, but there are some times where I'm I hate everyone.
Yeah.
And I have to stop replying. And I think that's a good thing. I always tell the box office that I'm really glad that I work behind the scenes because I can edit my responses because usually the first response is not something that should be going out. However, there are times, specifically usually around shout out the hate night, where
I know that's a tough one.
Both Sean and Kristen have really given me full reign to say what I want to say.
Yeah.
And I really snap back at these people. And I'm not, I'm not lighthearted about it at all. Yeah. And I fully say, if you can't, please don't come to the game. Which is completely against everything we do, right? We just talked about how we have
we're trying to get
crowds
people here.
And we want people here and we take pride in being a part of that.
Yeah.
But I am actively please don't come.
Yeah. It's, I mean, things like that, those are the things I wonder about. I mean, because there are people, and I hate this, and this is what you just said a moment ago. I know that, look, at the end of the day, we're an ECHL Teams podcast. This is not going to get out everywhere. There's going to be a very finite amount of people.
Viral.
If we go viral for this, I'll be very excited because it would be a good thing. But for the finite amount of people that are going to see this, and I actually said this the other day, on the air, and I can't remember what game, to be completely honest, but it may have been, I think it was actually at the end of, I think it was Fan Appreciation Night against Kalamazoo, because we had finished our regular season home slate. And, you know, I do my thing, like, hey, you know, 513-421-PUCK, call and buy your playoff tickets, whatever. And I said on there, I don't know how many people would have done it. I don't know if anybody would have done it. I don't know if anyone was listening, but I said, when you give a call, be sure to thank whoever you're talking to, because those little things go a long way, because it's a long season, and the amount of work that goes into this office across the board is, I don't care who, people can say, oh, you have white collar jobs because you sit at your desk. It's still not always fun to sit at your desk for 65 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do from October through April. So
manners go a long way. Like being a polite person, it's free to do.
Yep.
And I think it's the keyboard warriors, right? They assume that because it's just a logo they're responding to, that's what it is. And my favorite response to them usually is, I wish I had the free time that you have to be typing this out right now.
Yep. And that's where, you know, I reference what I had said, but it's meant to kind of go hand in hand with what you're saying about, you know, social media is supposed to be fun. Mm-hmm. Like, even when we lose, we do our best to kind of have tongue in cheek, like, okay, you know, it's okay. I mean, and that's not easy for you to come up with. But at the end of the day, social media is not meant to be, people always talk about going down rabbit holes, and we've all been there, but they should be good rabbit holes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this should not be like, oh, just looking at the toxicity and then reading. Now, I'll admit, sometimes misery loves company. So, like, if the Phillies lose, I do scroll right on the Twitter comments.
You're a doom scroller.
I am a doom scroller, yes.
Shocking.
But you know what? Sometimes they make me laugh because they're funny, like, just the way they say things.
Sometimes they are funny. I did tell a Fort Wayne fan to chill out and need a Pop-Tart today, because he
Chill out, need a Pop-Tart.
Yeah, I was like, Ken, chill out, need a Pop-Tart.
Nice.
I was like, stop. Why are you commenting on our page? I don't even know why you're here.
What would be your go-to Pop-Tart?
Oh, I have an emergency Pop-Tart in my drawer.
A flavor, though?
It's a cookies and cream emergency Pop-Tart.
Okay.
It is for when I have a complete and utter breakdown. When you hear that foil unwrapping, just
get away.
Yeah, it's probably not a good day.
I
reached for it one time. Both my interns were like,
yeah. I sometimes worry.
There's also an emergency White Claw in there.
Okay, you said it. You might get Ronnie, because who knows? Maybe Ronnie's going to be a podcast guest. You've got jurisdiction on that end. Right. I just want to get the Kristen interview. Who's getting Sean Lennon, trying to go an hour on that one?
That's the new season.
That's the news. That's right.
So that'd be you.
Yeah, which we all get along with, Sean. I'm just worried about length.
We could do like a 3.
That is probably going to be best, because my only concern is Sean doesn't like to talk for long periods of time.
He's a more quiet individual.
You
know what? He has like really good dry humor.
He does.
He's the Office type of humor.
Yes.
Like sometimes he'll just pop in and say something, and we're like,
yeah, I enjoy it.
Like,
and
where was that?
Sean has a ton of wisdom too. Like he has to be on the podcast. It's just a matter of, I do like it. Maybe we'll be in a situation where we'd have to figure out a third mic, or like replace this, put these on the floor some way, and then add a chair here, and then have, you know, that. But
great.
Anyway, different time for a different day. Different. I don't even know what I'm saying. I had something. I feel like I've had a lot of things. This has been really fun.
I feel like we should probably have more.
Yeah, I'm 100% down for that.
Just like too chit-chatty in the summer.
But I feel like there's been a lot of, like, these have been, you've given a lot of insightful answers that are, it's interesting to hear behind the scenes.
I'm sure, like, looking back, maybe it won't be.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I think it's good.
We haven't even touched the surface, though.
Yeah, there's a lot.
In my opinion.
There's a lot. So I know there's another thought that I had in my head. I can't think of it now. We'll see if it comes back. Here's one I did have, though.
Okay.
You referenced a few teams. You said Cleveland Guardians, Cincinnati Bengals, Los Angeles Chargers. Is it Los Angeles Chargers?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, I'm sorry. I know they used to be San Diego, right? Right? Yeah. But sorry, not a big football guy. Are there teams, dude, enough. All right?
I didn't think you were going to hear that.
You're ruining, remember this? You're ruining our episode. I kept saying to Brandon with Yeamans was on here, I was like, you're ruining my episode. He's like, it's our episode, man.
Are you going to be so mad if I start taking over and like the views skyrocket?
I will. Okay.
What if they go down?
What? No, I don't want that to happen.
I'm nervous about posting this.
Here's what I'll tell you. I would be very disappointed, and I mean this, if all of a sudden the podcast just conveniently is getting like 5 tweets a day about it. Because I'd be like, bro, that's not cool.
No, I'm actually nervous. It's like that weird. So I love being the center of attention. Like, that's not my issue.
Yeah,
but it is
same.
weird for me on the professional side, like Women in Sports Day and everything else. Like, when I had to tweet congratulating myself or like that kind of thing, I'm so awkward, like typing it out. I'm like, oh, like, what do I say? It's cringeworthy.
I noticed.
So me having to, I'll get the clips or whatever, and then I'll have to listen to them, which is like the worst part that I hated in college was listening back to my voice. And posting it and promoting it, that's going to be weird.
This will be the difference because I used to feel the same way, but the more you talk and have a recording button in front of you, the more you get comfortable with it. Because I used to think I hate my voice.
In college, that was all I did.
Yeah.
Was high school sports reporting and news and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And just constantly listening. I was like, is that what I sound like? Because I don't think I sound like that, but apparently I do, and it's upsetting.
Yeah, it's sad when somebody goes to mock your voice, and then you're like, it doesn't sound like that, right? You hope not, but then you're like,
don't tell them what we were talking about earlier.
Oh. What? My voice?
We don't make fun of you.
What?
It's a joke.
So everybody earlier was...
No.
Eli's like, I'm out of here. I didn't do anything. Okay.
Courtney, it's a joke.
Did you guys make fun of my voice?
No, not today.
You should know by now that if I was going to make fun of your voice, I just tell it to you.
I don't think it's that bad of a voice.
Speaking of your voice, though, I have been super, it's been super fun lately, and no one else is going to know this, or I guess they will now, but
Find out.
It'll be fun to see if they can maybe guess what word it is. But when we were getting absolutely slaughtered a few weeks ago, I mean, what was it, 11-0?
Yeah.
And at some point, this is when, so someone was like, what do you even say? I think your intern was like, what do you even tweet during a game like this? And I go, stupid videos that have nothing to do with the game.
Yeah, you have to.
Right? My dog, I don't know.
Yeah.
But this is when it started, was me writing down things on a piece of paper for you to say on the broadcast. And I don't know why this is so fun for me. I don't listen to it. Like, I'm not, during the game, I hear you like to the side of me, but that's it.
Yeah.
And it's been the funniest thing is picking the words for you to say in a broadcast.
Yeah, now you're revealing all the secrets, because you wonder to anybody that really listens to all the games. I mean, there's a consistency with me. Like, I call the game a certain way. And then one day I'm like, hashtag justice for social media. They're like, he doesn't talk like that. Like, I can't remember.
For real, because you told me that I could start picking the stars, and I'm going off vibes.
Yep.
And
for the most part, we've been
pretty
seeing the same thing.
Correct. But this is the justice for social media was when I had someone on there, and you were like, nah.
Yeah.
So.
I still agree with my decision, but I'm just stubborn in my ways.
That's fine.
You're
the one, you're the one who said you hated picking the stars.
I do. I 100% do. And I will go on record and say I hate picking 3 stars. I think it is an awful task to be given in the middle of a tie game with 2 minutes left that I have to feverishly write things down, because I am a storyteller in addition to a broadcaster, and they go hand in hand. And when you are at a whistle with 2 minutes left in a tie game, the last thing I want to do is have dead air while I write, mute my mic, and then I'm yelling, yeah, Cliff, if it's this, it's that. If it's game winner, him. If he gets the game winner, make this guy the second star. Send it to Rachel, send it to Braden, go downstairs. Because that's what's happening when I'm not talking. It's wildly inconvenient. Whereas right there in that moment, I want to tell a story. I want to take
fully support it.
that breath to talk about the game, to talk about the story, to talk about how we got here, because that's what it is.
Well, and I think that's why it's so important to have you, who has an incredible hockey background. You know the game.
Incredible.
Adjectives. The game, everything else. I came in here during my interview. I was like, I'm going to be honest. I don't know anything about hockey.
Yeah.
My very first hockey game was the first one I worked. So,
it's crazy.
But that's the balance, right? Is making sure that you're in the middle of calling a game, telling a story, doing it down to the stat mark. But most of our fans are casual fans. Most of our fans don't know hockey. Most of our fans are coming to their first game. And so how am I making it accessible and fun to take in for someone who has no idea why Beck Warm was a first star?
Right.
Right.
Well, and I was trying to ask this earlier, and then we,
off on a tangent.
which is okay.
This could be like a 2-parter.
No.
I feel like we've been talking a long time.
Well, I mean, if you mean two-parter as in, we have, yeah. I'll take a look at my phone.
226.
Oh yeah, we got to get going. I have to go to a media appearance at 2:30.
where you
Or at 3. Cumulus Radio with Justin Vive and Beck Warm, who you just referenced. But
Justice for goalies.
Justice for goalies, he's been great. So as we wind down to this, though, let's kind of end it on this. I've been referencing a couple of the teams that you have referenced. Okay. So you already talk about it. You come in here, you have no experience with hockey, and now you are tasked with being the voice for a hockey team, casual market or not.
Right.
Are you like for me as a broadcaster growing up, I think I'm guilty of emulating the guys I looked up to that were play-by-play broadcasters. Do you look to other teams for inspiration? You don't need to say who, but are there teams that you've wanted to emulate when you came in here? You had been with Hudson Valley, doing social media for them as well, I believe.
Yep, I was in Hudson Valley they're now the Yankees affiliate, but when I was there, they were Tampa's.
And Single A, right?
That one was a short season A team, and then
New York Penn League.
Yep. Now they've bumped up since MLB's changed their.
Yeah, I think the New York Penn League is gone. I don't think it exists anymore.
I don't think so either.
But those teams do. So
some of them got the boot.
Okay.
And then I was over in Lake County for the now Guardians.
Okay.
But that's what I brought into it. So everyone, I think, scrolls and looks for inspiration.
Yeah.
No matter what level you are, you're constantly looking for because people who aren't in your industry are going to have good ideas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I came in with a minor league baseball background, and that's what I really rolled with during my interview and kind of that whole process was I want to bring minor league baseball to minor league hockey. Because minor league baseball is my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah. I know you're a big Florence Yalls fan. We can say that on here.
I love the Florence
We're
Yalls.
friends with the Yalls.
They're my favorite place to go in the summer.
What about, would you ever want to go to a Savannah Bananas game?
100%. I tried to get tickets, and I did not get the pre-sale link. So.
For the Indy one? Because they're coming to Indianapolis.
I just signed up for when they were going on tour for their Banana Ball situation, and I signed up to try and get tickets because they sell out every year.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And I did not get chosen, which is upsetting.
That is unfortunate for you.
But yeah, that was my inspo, honestly, was minor league baseball.
Is there a go-to team that you have inspiration from?
I don't think so. Probably just every team that I've worked for in the leagues that I've been surrounded with are what I go after.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Just fun. I'm here for the fun. The reason why I love minor league baseball so much and now sequentially minor league hockey is because this is where you create a fan. I love creating the fan.
Okay, so break that down. This will be the last part because we do have to get going. But
Sorry.
No, you're
I'm really
okay.
talking a lot today.
We both are. So explain real quick because you're genuinely correct, and I think that starts with a little kid that as a parent you and I don't have kids, so what do we know? Right. But I'm thinking from the perspective of my mom that I can't imagine 5-year-old Andrew who has no real interests in sports, you want to risk taking to a game that's going to cost $100 a ticket, right? You're looking for a more cheap avenue into that, and that's kind of what we're doing here.
Correct. Yeah. And it's a fun environment.
Yeah.
So even when I go to the Yalls games, I still have this mindset as a 27-year-old married person with no children. I go to the game because I'm paying $15 for a ticket. If I miss a couple innings because I'm grabbing a drink or I'm chatting with someone, whatever, I don't feel bad for missing an inning. Now, when I go to a Reds game, if I'm not in there, I've already had my 3 hot dogs. I'm in my seat. Chances are I'm not getting up again because I feel like I can't miss anything because I just spent how much money on a ticket.
Right.
But when you're creating the fan, 5-year-old Andrew who's learning to like baseball or hockey, you don't know the game at all, whatever else. Even your parents might not know the game at all. You go to a game, you see something that you like, you had a good, enjoyable time, you want to come back to the game.
Yeah.
And you still might not know it, right? But you start becoming a fan slowly, and you work up to that $100 a ticket for the NHL, MLB, NFL. Now, the NFL is a little bit different because of
$300 a ticket.
Well, I mean, what's the minor league for football? I guess it's like college, but that's still a hefty ticket price.
Depending on the school. I mean, you're talking a big D1 school. You're not getting
so
in shape.
I don't really know that level or that side of things, but in terms of baseball and hockey, I love creating a fan. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Seeing someone become a fan of something is that what parenthood is like?
I
don't know.
Maybe. To be continued. We'll find out.
To be determined.
Well, who knows? One day, right? But
I like my dog.
okay, fair enough. All right. Well, on that note, no kids. We're
It's been fun.
yeah, it has been fun. Thank you for taking the time too. Sorry as always, the podcast continue to have more and more technical difficulties. We're working with a Band-Aid broadcast, but
Off season's coming.
off season's
But
coming.
not soon.
Right. And it ends, the season hopefully ends with a parade or whatever we do if
We
we
will
win it. Hoist the title.
Hoist Kelly.
Hoist Kelly. Yep. We're dancing with Kelly. Anyway, all right. We got to get going. I got to go do some media stuff. Rachel's got to go do some social stuff, and you'll see
need to
all
eat
her
lunch.
work. And needs to eat
Hungry.
lunch. Yeah, 3 p.m. lunch for you. This is tough.
This is late. You've ruined my lunch hours.
Okay. There we go. Sorry.
End with that.
All right. Part 2
Sound.
coming up. All right. Thanks, everybody. 2 for Chirping is done. Rachel will be doing, as mentioned, I think our next one with Matt Shear. So look forward to that. And you and I will kind of tag on and off here and do some episodes over the next
Be fun.
few weeks. So yeah,
Enjoy
it'll be
your
fun.
media appearance.
Yeah. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch.
Thank you.
Go Cyclones.